Here we are this morning at Royal Dornoch Golf Club on a cold but bright January morning in 2013. And in front of me here I have two of our senior members of the club, our president, Mr. Dennis Bethune, and ex-professional at Royal Dornoch Golf Club, Mr. William Skinner. And we're here to discuss and talk about their lives as members of Royal Dornoch Golf Club.
Well, I started playing when I was 5. I was dragged out by my mother and father to hit this little white ball with a stick, which I didn't enjoy, but that's when I started.
Well, I would be about 12, been much younger than Mr. Skinner, and I was brought up about 30 or 40 yards from what was then the 18th tee, and which is now defunct, of course. And we used to just go up and watch the players playing off the 18th tee. It was just at the end of the war years, of course, or when that was passed. So I didn't have much chance of playing golf between 1936 and 1948, 49.
Right. Well, what about tuition as you were growing up? And I take it there was a junior section on the go organised.
No, there was no junior section. I never had any tuition at all, and the only help I got was from members. Some of them were quite good at telling you what to do, but others weren't. And,
I was the same.
And there was one competition, that was the Caddy's Cup. And the other competition I remember was the man and boy, and we were taken out on the championship course for the man and boy competition. But there was no other competitions that I remember.
I think the first thing I played in was the man and boy competition, and I had no clubs. And Donald Grant took me down his clubs to play with, which were much too big, of course, but good enough. And lo and behold, I was drawn with a Mr. McRae, who was a particularly good golfer of the time. You might know.
Oh yes, I think I do.
And I'll always remember, to my dying day, the first hole, your dad hit a good drive right down the middle, and believe it or not, it finished on the top of that little mound. And I had to stand, and I hit a lot of the mound, and no golf ball was it.
You would get telling off for that, I'm sure.
Oh, well, and I don't think old Mr. McRae was very amused at that.
When I started, I had a mixture of hickory and steel shaft clubs, all handed down, and I managed to get a proper set after I saved up my caddying money, and my father helped me to buy a Henry Cotton irons. There were.
I was similar. I got a job in the Royal Golf Hotel as a porter, and I went in to see Robbie Grant in the shop, and he had these Robert Forgan's irons, and I said, I'll come in and buy one a week if you keep them aside for me. So Robbie helped me a lot in getting these clubs. That was my first proper clubs.
We were just came down, and if somebody was wanting a caddy, you got booked. And I remember when I started first, I got 2 and 6 around, which is today's equivalent of, is it 15 pence?
Yeah.
And then after a couple of years, I got 5 shillings. So that was my maximum pay. And sometimes we got a tip, occasionally. But I tried to avoid the people that didn't give a tip. We would hide till they disappeared down the first fairway.
Like Horace Bride, for instance.
So they were well known for their...
Oh yes, there was 1 or 2 well known for not giving a tip, so we tried to avoid them.
The caddies used to lie on the bank at the back of the first tee, grassy bank. Yeah. And Danny McCulloch or Robbie Grant or whoever would come round looking for someone to Cardiff, and he chose whoever he thought was most suitable for the person asking.
Right.
My first employment at the club was daisy picking, and that is a daisy picker there. And I will explain. During the war, there was very little done on the golf course, and the result was that there was a lot of daisies on the greens. And during the school holidays, we were asked to pick the daisies out of the greens, and we were organised by a member of the council, and there was strips of string put along the green about a yard wide, and we had to go on our hands and knees and take out the daisies with this implement here. And it was made by the local blacksmith, Bert Galanders. He made quite a number of these for taking the daisies out of the greens, and I can't remember did we get paid for it or not, but that's what we did. And we filled the little cans with the daisies, and then we would get another strip to do until the whole green was finished.
I was too young for that, but I would doubt very much you would get paid for it.
I don't think
you were
we
just
did.
expected to do it.
Aye, yes.
To help the club
Yeah.
in those days.
Sitting today, the clubhouse here was taken over by the RAF, as well as the Royal Golf Hotel, and our ladies' course down below there was all flattened, and that's how we have a lovely practice ground down there, and we still got one of the airstrips there. And down on the lower links there was dozens and dozens of aircraft during the war.
Harvards, Lancasters.
Many Lancasters. Most of them were Lancasters.
And it wasn't an active airfield, I
No.
take it was just somewhere where there was
Storage.
Yeah.
It wasn't an operational base.
I remember one of them ending up in the barn. A Lancaster.
No, I think it was a Wellington.
Was it?
One of the Wellington went in the barn.
beg your pardon,
Overshot
Mr. Skinner.
overshot the runway and went into the barn. But the crew were all right. They weren't injured at all.
What equipment did the green staff have it in those days?
Two
2 horses?
mowers,
Two mowers,
one of which didn't work, so they took parts of it to keep the other one going.
a tractor, one tractor they had, and they had a big gang mower to cut the fairways. It was pulled by this tractor. And there was two green staff and the head greenkeeper.
Arnold and Fatty
Aye.
And Robbie?
and Robbie
Robbie Grant,
was the head
yes.
greenkeeper.
And no sprinkler system as we have today. And when we got a very dry spell, Robbie Grant, the head greenkeeper, used to go out in the evening and they hose the greens manually, and he would do that voluntary. And I know he didn't get any extra pay for going out in the evenings. He did that very, very often to keep the greens in a good state.
And on a very dry, hot period of weather, the ball bounced all over the place. And a green like the third green, for example, if your ball finished up to the left-hand side of the green, it was almost impossible to keep it on the green, whether you put it dead, pitched it, or whatever. And only people like Willie Skinner could get it near the hole.
And the greens would be browns then.
They were browns. They were
More like
as
a
hard as
colour.
the table there, and that colour too.
Involved.
Well, my father was John Sutherland's assistant. He was John Sutherland was the secretary here for over 50 years, and in his latter years, my father did a lot of work here because John Sutherland wasn't able to do it. And when John Sutherland died in 1941, my father was automatically made secretary, and he was secretary for 10 years, but unfortunately he died quite young. I think it was 1951. But my mother was the ladies' champion several times. In fact, the first time she won it was 1930. And back then, the ladies' championship was played on similar lines to the Kenichi Shield. And in one of the championships, she met Joyce Weatherhead in the third round, I think it was. But my mother didn't win, I can say. She got heavily beaten, I'm afraid. But, so my son now is the professional here, and he is now the third generation of the family to be involved with the club. So the Skinner family have a long history of connection with the golf club.
Yourself, Dennis?
Well, my mother did the catering for the club in the 1960s, and in those days it wasn't so busy as it is now. Mm-hmm. But along with the catering, if some visitors came to play golf, they rang the bell at the front door of the clubhouse. She had to leave the catering, rush down the stairs and sell them a ticket, rush back up the stairs and stop any burning that was carrying on and stove.
I believe the silver medal was
that's the oldest.
Number one. Yeah.
That's the oldest tournament that the club has. But of course, the prestigious one now, and has been for a long time, is the Kenichi Shield.
Yeah.
That's the one that all the local young guys would like to win. Unfortunately, I have never managed it, although I was beaten in the final twice. I won't tell you by how much one of the times.
And yourself?
Oh, well, I was in 4 finals, and I won it. I think it was 1958. And in 1965, I had a very long match with Jimmy Miller. That was the first time he won the Kenichi Shield, and we played out in the final to the 26th hole, which is the 8th. And I think it was sheer tiredness and that got me beaten, not Jimmy Miller. I was really exhausted after it, and back then there was no buggies to take you back and forth. And when the game was over, my main worry was how was I going to get back to the clubhouse? But by good luck, the secretary at the time got 2 or 3 cars, and he took them out to the 10th tee, and we just walked down to the 10th tee, and we were taken back to the clubhouse. And I think the prize giving was due at 5:30, and it was now 8 o'clock at night. So, but the best player I ever played in the Kenichi Shield was R.A.G. Monroe. He won it, I think, 3 or 4 times. He beat me in the final. I met him in the final once, and he beat me 3-2. But he was the most natural golfer I've ever played against, and he was just a superb player. But I did meet him a few years ago, and he told me he stopped playing altogether, which I can't understand.
Mm-hmm. He was a lesson to everybody watching, the way he went about playing golf. I think it does as much good as anything watching him. His technique and very professional looking, the way he went about it, Jimmy. Very good golfer.
Where did he come from?
He was a member of Erskine Golf Club.
You can see. Another competition that used to go, used to run at the club, the Rhodes medal, which is not played for now, and I have no idea what it was all about. Don't tell me.
There weren't many competitions immediately after the war, but I think the Rhodes medal was played for every month.
The Rhodes medal was a monthly medal, and I think there's no evidence, but we think it's maybe Cecil Rhodes, the South African, that funded the medal, because there was a South African owned the Grange, which is now the Royal Golf, and he brought quite a number of South Africans there on holiday. So we just think that maybe Cecil Rhodes was there at one time, and he gave some money for the Rhodes medal, but there's no evidence to that.
Mm-hmm. Did you play in the Open, either of you? The Open?
Not me, no.
Qualifying rounds?
Well, yes,
Dennis did.
I did play in the Open at Troon in 1962. And that was quite an experience, believe me. I didn't have a car at the time. I was at Housecastle in Glasgow, and a member of the club was the Reverend Tom Allen, who was an evangelist and who took over from Billy Graham, the American, who a lot of people would still know. Tom Allen was a member of Troon, which was just Troon, it wasn't Royal Troon in those days, and he said that he saw I had entered for the Open. Had I ever played the course? I said, no. Would you like to? Yes, so he took me down in his car to play a practice round, and he said I fixed it with Bill Henderson, who was the Willie John Henderson, who was the pro at Troon, and he took me into the secretary's office and introduced me, and he said, I'll go and see Bill Henderson now. So, oh yes, he said, Bill has fixed up a game for us. I said, that's fine, and he'll play himself, and he's got someone else. The someone else was Di Rees, who had finished, I think, third in the previous Open. So that set the nerves jangling. But they were very kind to me, took me around, and I managed to qualify, which was a wonderful experience. Of course, an entirely different tournament in those days. Now there's qualifying events all over the world for it. In those days, everybody had to qualify over 2 rounds. Even the winner, even Palmer had to qualify. Entirely different.
We have matches against Tain, Strathpeffer, Boat of Garden.
I think the oldest one is against Strathpeffer, wasn't it?
I would think so, yes. Strathpeffer's been going a long time.
That was rated an annual holiday for most of the members, and who enjoyed it very much. And
it would have been quite a trip.
it was
Quite a trip to get there in those days.
I can remember one particular year when we were coming back from the Strath, all in a very happy mood. Stopped at Alton Main Hotel on the way home to Crenshaw Thirst, and there happened to be a wedding, and then one of our members, who shall be nameless, and who is not here today, we had ended up dancing with the bride in the hall of Alton Main Hotel. I don't know what the guests felt about that, but I'm sure they enjoyed it. It was all in good fun.
And I think you were pretty well involved in the setting up of the Boat of Garden.
Oh yes, I was. I had a team going down to play Crieff every year, because I'm very friendly with John Stark, the professional there. And we were always travelling back up on the Sunday. And I thought, well, we'll stop somewhere this time and have a game. And I phoned up Boat of Garden, because I had played there before. And the chap said, oh yes, yes, you're very welcome to have a game. And so we arrived at Boat of Garden, and we played the match. We came in, and I went I said to him, no, we'll have to square up for the green fees. He said, no, there's no green fees at all. No. I said, that's very generous. And they sat us down to a lovely meal. I remember we got smoked salmon and everything. And I said, this is fantastic. And then just before we were going, the organiser said to me, I wonder, can you do something for me, Willie? And I said, what's that? We'd love to have a game at Royal Dornoch. So I said, well, I will arrange that. So that's how it started.
Going on from there, we got very friendly with John Stark, of course. The late John Stark, who was the pro at Crieff And there were so many of us going down in that area for the October holidays that he said, why don't we have a game this year? And we were a few short, but Arthur McCarran from Elgin was one of the people we roped in to build up our team. And after the match, we got great hospitality as usual. And Arthur had a plumbing business in Elgin, now retired, and he did most of the distillery work around the Elgin area. And although he didn't drink himself, he always ended up with bottles of whiskey in the crate of his car. So towards the end of that evening, Arthur says, now you've all enjoyed yourselves, now we'll have a real dram, we'll have a merry dram. So he goes out to his car and brings in this big bottle of illegal white whiskey, and he fills everybody's glass with it, and we're all enjoying it. And Arthur sat down beside this gentleman and he said, what is it you do for a living? Oh, he says, I'm the Customs and Excise Officer at Glenpel Distillery. And he said, I know how you got the drink, the drams, Arthur, and it was very good. No harm done. Ben Crenshaw appeared one year, and the Open was being played in Scotland, and seemingly when he went back to play in the Open, he was asked where he was and what was it like. He says, oh, I nearly never came back. Mm-hmm. He enjoyed it that much. And then Tom Watson came after, and I remember sitting in there with some Americans one night, and he says, you've got no idea what's going to happen to you after these people going home and saying where they were. And true enough, after that, the number of visitors increased greatly.
I think, did you not caddy for Tom Watson?
I did caddy for Tom Watson.
When he came.
And I can remember him quite clearly going down the third fairway saying, this is the most fun he's ever had on a golf course. Recently, of course, we've had Craig Stadler, better known as the Walrus, who has now joined our club. And we're very proud of that, past Masters champion.
And Tom Weiskopf as well.
Tom Weiskopf.
Yes. And Greg Norman.
Greg Norman.
We have inter-club games now with like of the Country Club of North Carolina, and we had matches against the Atlanta Athletic Club. And in the old days, it was just a trip to Tain or Blora.
So I can get my around.
Many's a happy Kenichi Shield week passed here with people from far and near coming back every year.
Yeah.
This was the thing about it. It was like a family affair almost.
Well, this year is the 100th playing of the Kenichi Shield.
That is something, isn't it?
It is something.
The 100th year, and how many in a couple of years' time we will be proud to say golf has been played here for over 400 years. Not a lot of places can say that. Not a lot.
Well, gents, I think I'm running out of steam here.